Well, hello there, fall lovers. This is Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Chrysanthemum gift box. Now, this is a great way to give a gift. You can see this is just the prototype, but it's a good sized box for whatever gift you want to fit in here. I would say that you could fit, well, definitely jewelry, cosmetics, gift cards, who knows? I mean, there's all sorts of different things that you're going to want to gift, and what better way to give it, especially with fall coming up, than in this pretty little box. So I've got all of my stuff cut out, as should you. We're actually going to begin with a little bit of inking, because I want to show you just kind of how I did this. You can see off to the side here that I pretty much did all of them except for one, just because it gets kind of repetitive. So I've got my my applicator here, my ink applicator. This is like a felt, and I've got my favorite inks. If you're interested in finding these exact supplies, head on over to your Apple App Store or Google Play and download the Dreaming Tree app. You'll see this under the supply list. So I'm going to go ahead and dab this, get some ink on there, just kind of see what kind of flow I'm getting. And I'm going to start in the middle. The center part you're really not going to see, so it's a good place to start. And just kind of start by doing little circles, and then as you get going, work those circles out wider and wider. Now, I used a lot of this ink today, so it's probably, I'm going to need to be reapplying it pretty often, I'd say. But if you have a brand new ink pad, be careful, as you're probably going to get a lot more flow. So it's probably a good idea to maybe even see and practice on a scrap piece of paper. Okay, so doing this while it's flat. I'm going to bring it out probably about halfway to the petals, the center of the petals there. Okay, just kind of bring it out. And you can do it further if you want, but obviously you don't want to do the whole thing because that defeats the purpose. Otherwise you're just changing the entire color of the entire piece of paper. So you want to kind of give it a nice a little bit of ink, but not too much. Okay. So that's essentially what I did to all of these pieces, every single one. There's two of each size, and you can see I kind of have them stacked by size. So there's two of these, two of these, two of these, and so on and so forth. And what we're going to do is we're going to build this starting with the largest piece going to the smallest. And then we have a beautiful little stamen part for the center. And that's about it, okay? So now once you have it inked, you're going to take it, you'll notice there's score lines going down the center, and you're just going to kind of grab the petal with these two fingers, your thumb, and I'm using my middle finger, and then I use my pointer finger to push down on that score line, and then I'll just take and pinch the tip. And you can kind of pinch up a little bit to actually define that even more. And you're going to do that to all of these flowers, every single flower and every single petal. Okay, now and this is how I'm doing it. Now, if you want to ink this differently, by all means, there's no right or wrong way to do it. You can do it however you want. I'm just showing you how I decided to do it. Okay, so I've got those pinched. Gonna keep on cruising here, going down the line, getting all these pinched. So there's gonna be a lot of pinching. Okay, so if you're good at pinching things, and if you like pinching things, you're going to really enjoy this one. Okay, so almost done there. And then what I did after I pinched these, I grabbed my applicator again and dabbed it with some ink, and then I hit the very ends of these. Okay, and I got to push down a little bit harder to get some more ink out of there. I think it's time to buy some new orange, as I'm starting to run out here. And I'm literally just grazing the very, very end of it. Now, because I pinched it, it's not hitting the center part of the surface. It's just hitting kind of the tips and the perimeter, just right out to the very edge. Okay, and I just think that gives it a really nice look. Now, again, just my technique for this specific flower. If you take a look and head on Google Images and do a search for chrysanthemums, you'll see that they come in all sorts of you know, styles as far as colors and looks, and they have all these different qualities about them. So there's really no wrong way to do this. This is just how I decided to do it, and if you want to kind of follow how I'm doing it, then by all means, you're welcome to. If you want to ink the edges of this before you pinch it, you can do that, and then you'll get some nice, you know, it'll just be covered more as far as the tips go, but I kind of like how that looks. So anyway, again, I took all of these and I stacked them on top of each other so that I know for a fact that I have the right size, because we're literally going to start from the bottom. That's kind of cool. Look at that. We're going to start at the bottom here, and actually we can just jump right into it. So find the largest section, the largest piece. There should be two of them, two of each size. Okay, grab the other one, and we're going to put that right on top, but we're going to offset it. So you don't want to put it right on top like that. You want to offset it so that each little petal can be seen. You can get that nice and centered, and then just press that down. Okay. So then we're going to find the next largest. So we're going down in size, and we can put some glue right in the center here. You may want to slow down a little bit. Well, then again, if you're using too much glue, this is going to take you a lot longer. So go easy on it. All right, so I'm going to grab the next one, and again, we want to offset it so they're not sitting right on top of that previous layer. Get it nice and centered, and just press that down. I'll take a look at it from this angle here. And you can actually, if you want, you can kind of align it with the back layer so that this petal is right on top of the back layer, but not on top of the second layer there. Okay, so you can see this petal matches up with this petal, but not this petal. So we're just going to stagger it and alternate it each time. All right, so let's get our glue in place here. And this one again, we're going to take and offset it. Just stagger it and press it down. Whoops. There we go. Just like that. All right, next, we're going to find the next smallest size and get your glue in there. It's going to go quick. Once you have everything pinched and inked, this part goes really quick. Okay, so just get that nice and centered and press down. Okay, so you can see how that's starting to turn out. Very full looking, very dimensional. All right, and again, offsetting. Here we go. And just press that into place. Looking good. All right, next largest size. So we're going from big to small. So make sure you pick the right one, otherwise it may end up hiding on you and you won't even see the previous layer there. Okay, so just continue to offset the petals so that they're not right on top of each other. Like that. Grab the next one. Get that glue in the center. Occasionally you might want to pick it up. Just make sure that you've got it nice and centered. And pop that in place. Now they're going to start to kind of fight a little bit, so you want to make sure that when you push that down, you kind of hold it in place for a few moments. Okay, you can kind of separate them a little bit. There we go. All right, so now this is the second to smallest. And just like we did, a little bit of glue. Make sure that everything is already inked and pinched. If you're deciding to ink, you definitely want to pinch everything. Okay, here we go. And the next layer. Take that one and pop it right in there, offsetting it, okay? And just press that together. There we go. All right, now we're down to the smallest. Okay, and again, not right on top of the previous layer, but just rotate it a little bit so those petals are in between. And press that down. And the last layer. Pop that in there. offset the petals, and press that down into place. Okay, so that's that. That's pretty much all it takes to make this beautiful chrysanthemum. We need to add the little centerpiece, the little stamen part. Okay, now I've got this piece here. It's just a long strip with a bunch of little cutouts for the stamen. And if you're using AC cardstock, this is my texture side, this is my smooth side. I inked the texture side. And what you're gonna do is just wrap this around itself. Just kind of fold it around itself. Okay, and literally just roll it. Roll it all the way down. And now, once you get it rolled a little bit, you can take and apply a little bit of glue just right at the very base. Not on the parts that are cut out, but just right on the base. I'm going to thin that out a little bit and continue rolling it. And that's going to make sure that it stays in place. Roll it nice and tight. Take a trip back to the 70s. Remember, you used to roll things in the 70s. I guess you didn't really want them too tight, but go ahead and roll that up and all the way to the end. That's why it's important to have glue all the way out to the very end of this little stamen piece, and just press and hold and keep holding on to that until that glue really sets. But while you're holding it, this is the fun part, just kind of take and start to spread these out and spread them out. There we go, look at that. That looks really cool. Looks so much little detail in something so simple if you just shape it correctly. Okay, so there we go. And we can always kind of flare this out a little bit more. You almost want some of these to be like completely out. Almost like 90 degrees from the base. Okay, so that looks great. And then if you want to hot glue it, you can. I'm just going to take some regular glue, pop it right on the bottom, and pop that right in the center of our chrysanthemum. And we're going to let that sit, and we're going to let that dry for a minute while we work on other things. Okay, so let me get that out of here. One little thing that we wanted to do, now you can see here, once this fully dries, I'm going to take and pull these petals up so they're not so separated from the center of the flower. But we'll worry about that in a minute. We'll let that glue completely set. If you want, what we wanted to do was prop this up and separate this a little bit more from these two base layers. Okay, and you can see here, there's little squares on here. The little oak leaves are going to go down first, and then we're going to glue these leaves down. And then here in the center, you can, if you want, use about 2 or 3 layers of foam squares to elevate the flower up a little bit. We've also included, if you want to use foam core, I've also included this little square template so that you can cut out just little pieces of foam core. If you don't want to use foam squares, you can just take and glue 3 pieces of foam core together, and those are going to get glued right to the center here, and then our flower is going to actually go on top of that to like really raise it up, because otherwise these petals naturally want to kind of curl down, like come down, and we want to let them hang. Okay, but if we didn't have this, it would just really flatten it out and it wouldn't look as full. So that's why we did that. Okay, now before we get into that, we do want to take and kind of train these leaves a little bit. So I'm literally taking the paper here, putting it between my fingers and the dowel, and then because this is cut out in the center, I wouldn't actually run it through. Just take it and kind of bend it up against the dowel. Okay, and it's gonna train those fibers in the paper to kind of curl a little bit, and that's all we're looking for. And if you want, what you can do, I would take a little bit of a thinner dowel. You can actually take and curl each of these individual little sections here. You can even curl them downward if you want, just to add a little bit of interest to these beautiful oak leaves. Well, they look like oak leaves. I guess they're probably just leaves from the chrysanthemum plant, but either way, to me they look like oak leaves. Okay, but you get the idea. And that layer is going to go on the bottom, and then the leaves are going to go on top. And the same thing with the leaves. We want to go ahead and curl these so that they curl up. Now, I don't like that because, again, it's there's cutouts in the center, so it won't train as usual if there weren't. So what I would probably do is just with your thumbs, just kind of start to shape it and curl it up a little bit. And you can see by just simply taking it, I kind of have it flat on my table, and it's almost like I'm just putting my thumb here and I'm wrapping the paper up against, not my thumb, my finger, my pointer finger. And then I'll move it up a little bit and then just kind of shape it up against the side of my finger. And you can see how it just naturally stands up then. Okay, you don't want to crease it. You want to try to make it look as natural as possible. So you can also do that with a dowel, I guess. I just feel like I like doing it with my hands. I feel like I have more control. Okay, and there you go. Okay, so again, this layer goes down first. So we can actually put some glue here, like so. And then we'll take this guy here, just match up the little squares in the center there. Just like that. Okay, and then we've got 3 layers. I'm using the foam core here. So, whoops, that was way too much glue. Get rid of some of that. Just wipe that off. And we'll glue the first one down. And then throw some more glue on the next layer. And glue that down. This will all be hidden once we actually put the flower on there. And we can definitely take those petals and push them down even more than they already are, because they'll be sitting on a nice platform, which will allow us to do that. Okay, so I'm just gonna smush that down, and I'm gonna let this sit for a minute. You just put the flower on there, just kind of get an idea of what it looks like. That's very, very pretty. Okay, so now all that's left to do is construct the box. Let's start with the lid. Okay, so you can see this is the lid. This is what it's gonna look like when it comes out. I've already glued down 2 of the panels, so I just have 2 more to glue down. You need to glue down all 4, obviously. And if you look closely, you'll notice that there are some little markers here right at the bottom. That's to help you get this nice and centered on the sides of the lid. So use those to your advantage. The corners of this panel should fit right into those little markers there, just like that. Okay, so I've got that one in place. Onto this one here. And get that glued into place. And I did hit these with a really dark brown. Okay, and let me see here, was I supposed to? Nope. Okay, and then this red piece is going to go right onto the top here. So we need to get that glued into place, and then we can construct the lid, and then we just have the box to put together, and then we just kind of wrap it all up. So I think depending on how much time you want to put into this, if you know, because of all the layers on the actual flower, you may be able to get away with not really inking it at all, and it still look good, because we got a lot of highlights and shadows kind of playing with each other naturally. So you don't have to ink. You will have to pinch, obviously, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. So what we're going to do to construct this is simply apply glue to these little tabs here. So we'll put glue on this tab here, and I'm going to spread that glue out all the way to the very edge there. And we'll bring this down up against this tab. Make sure it's nice and aligned. And just press that into place, like so. Should go pretty quick. If you don't use too much glue, it should go very quick for you. Okay, so we're gonna go over here now to this tab. Get some glue on there. Spread that out to the very edge. You can kind of thin it out too, as far as the thickness of the glue. Pull this over onto that tab, and press and hold. If you want, you can actually put that down on your surface and press it down like so. That actually speeds things up. You got a lot more force being applied, and that really forces that glue to get into the paper fibers. Okay, so I got the next tab here, gonna thin that glue out, get it out to the edge, and pull that in right behind this section here. I can put that down on my table and press down. Again, make sure it's nice and aligned. And the last one here. And just dab that with my finger, tuck it behind, line it up. Make sure it's nice and aligned, and then press that down. Okay, so that's literally it. There's your lid. Okay, so this guy here, and what you'll notice is that there's a little box in the center of this. So we can go ahead and apply some glue there. I'm gonna go a little bit heavier. Okay, and get that nice and centered. Oops. There we go. Okay, it's kind of moving around a little bit, but that's okay. Just make sure that it's nice and centered, looking good. And then you can take and put some glue on top of this and put our flower right in the middle. Make sure that's also centered. And we'll smush that down, make sure it's making good contact. And I'm gonna put this off to the side and let this glue really set because I've got a lot of glue on there. All right, so now moving on to the bottom of our box. Now you can see here, it's made up of these two sections. Okay, that's the actual bottom of the bottom. And you'll notice that I already put these two panels in place. There's a total of 4, and you're gonna apply all 4. I'm gonna show you how to do 2 of them. And one thing to keep in mind here is that at the bottom of each of these sections is a series of little score marks to help you with the placement, because you don't want to center this because the lid would obstruct it. Okay, so we want to, you'll see here and here, you just want to match up the corner of the panel with the little marker on both sides. And there you go. Just like that. And then the last one, you're going to do all 4. I'm only doing 2 on camera here, just because it's pretty self-explanatory and repetitive. And I want to save time. Okay. And there we go. Line that up. There we go. Beautiful. All right, so all 4 panels are in place. You might want to give them a few minutes to really set. What we're going to do is we're going to join these 2 sections together by way of this little tab here. So you can begin by putting glue on the tab. And as always, I'm going to take and spread that glue out to the very edge of the tab, thin it out a little bit. Then I'll grab my other half, line it up, get it nice and aligned, and press that down. Okay, I'm going to take and fold it over onto this seam, okay? And you can see that it's nice and centered and nice and properly aligned because these 2 sides, this edge and this edge, are perfectly aligned. Okay, so that looks really good. All right, now I'm going to take and close this up by way of this tab. So we'll apply our glue here. Spread that glue out to the very edge. And because this is symmetrical, I can take this, just lay it flat, and bring this other half over, and it should land right on top of where it needs to be. Exactly. Okay, there we go. Press that into place. I'm going to take and fold this over onto that seam. Okay, there we go. Perfect. That was pretty easy. All right, so now we'll fold it or flip it over so we can see the bottom. And we have 3 tabs. We need to apply glue to all 3 tabs, and then we just close it up. Okay, so grab your tabs. Get some glue on there. As always, I'm going to spread that glue out to the very edge so that when we put the bottom on there, we don't see any gaps. Everything looks almost like we're pros, like we're professionals. It's not difficult at all. Just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of practice, but you can do this. It's a beautiful little box. Should go pretty quick, actually. Okay, so I'm going to take this and flip it closed. Focus on getting it aligned with the side opposite of the side that it's already hinged at. And you might need to kind of pull that out a little bit and then press down once you've got it. The other two sides should just kind of fall into place. And there we go. Keep running your finger along the perimeter so that we make sure it's making good contact, looks nice and seamless, and then flip it over real quick and then press down from the inside to help the rest of the tab make contact. And you can see here it kind of came loose on one side. It's okay, everything else looks good. That glue's not dry yet, so as long as you press down before it fully sets, I think you'll get it. Okay, take a look at your work. Mine looks great. I'm going to take and apply some glue around the perimeter here, a little bit on the inside, and we're going to take this last piece and pop it in to hide the tabs and to also reinforce it so it doesn't just come breaking off. Okay, but there's the box. This may not be completely dry yet, but I'm going to pop it on anyway so you can see the end result. And that fits on there beautifully. And again, what I would suggest doing, I'm going to wait until this is fully cured, and I may end up, I'm going to hot glue this actually. I'm going to hot glue this, but that part's fine. I'm going to hot glue the flower, but what I would suggest doing is just taking these petals and kind of pulling them up a little bit, okay, because these are a little too flat. I'm going to bring them in towards the stamen a bit. You can actually just kind of grab a bunch of them, and I think it's this top layer that I'm mostly concerned about. Okay, but that looks great, like front on, that looks great. Again, I would probably put some hot glue on this. I'm going to do that off camera, but you can see the end result there and how beautiful that box is. So that's it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Take a look at the final photo. I'm just going to add a few little pearls on the actual lid, but aside from that, it's a gorgeous box. So hope you enjoyed crafting along with me. If you make this or anything from our new bundle, I would love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can type in this little URL here at the bottom and it'll take you right there. But yeah, happy fall crafting, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again.